Dude,
What is it this time?
it's JRPG news.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank goodness, right? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dude JRPG News, the show where a couple of dudes tell you about the JRPG news.
I would have never guessed.
Right? I'm your host, the legendary Zoltan, here with my co-host, Mel. How's it going, man?
It's going very well, Zoltan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good too, as usual. All right. So, let's get down to the news. Mel, you go first. We do this in a turn-based fashion. Mel is going first.
We sure do. All right, I got a couple quickies here. These are really quick. They're just two trailer announcements that you should probably type into Google and check out. One is called, hang on, I got the spelling wrong, Astria.
Astriel.
Astria is actually correct. I wrote
Okay.
the L at the end. Astria Ascending, which is a trailer for a role-playing game. It is a... If you were to click the link, Zoltan, you'll kind of get an immediate sense of the graphical style that I'm talking about. It looks a little bit like, what was that game that you were talking about before? Dragon's Crown?
Dragon's Crown, the Vanillaware game?
Yeah, sort of has a similar design to the way the character models look and the way the graphical engine is. Not the same combat, though. This is a turn-based sort of... everyone stands in a line and you press buttons to attack each other.
I don't want to click the link because it's going to come through the speaker recording. But is it 2D then? Because Dragon's Crown is
it's a
2D.
2D side-scrolling.
Oh.
According to the trailer, very early trailer though. 2021, no specific day or month. It is a French-developed game that has specific Japanese developers that are on board as like co-creators or whatever. Like the guy who did the Final Fantasy XII soundtrack is in here.
Right. I think I remember mentioning this once before.
The guy who did the story, some of the writing for the Final Fantasy VII remake as well as Final Fantasy X. You may have mentioned this.
That sounds crazy. But yeah, the name doesn't really... I don't remember it. Astria Ascending.
It's kind of a forgettable name. It's an easy one to forget. It's the first thing I thought when I read the name. I was like, wow, pick a better name, please.
Wow,
yes.
Generic much?
Truly. So my other quickie here is another trailer, and on YouTube, it's all in Japanese, but if you were to search for the translation, you might get something. It's called The Wicked King and the Noble Hero.
Is that the one I talked about with the dragon and the girl?
Oh my gosh, is it?
I think it is. Wait, but was that on the episode that we lost, or did we actually post that one? I think we posted that one. We lost one episode of this show recently. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and even if we didn't, clearly we can't remember which ones we did or didn't do.
Go ahead, mention it, and then I'll tell you what I know as you go.
Yeah, no, just that it is yet another side-scrolling 2D, highly stylized role-playing game with a turn-based aesthetic. It reminded me at first blush, after watching the trailer, a little bit of Paper Mario minus all of the Mario licensing.
Right. I'm trying to remember, like, some woman made that game. I mean, just some woman, like a woman who, like, what I mean by a woman, what I'm trying to say is that it's one of those games that it's been masterminded by mostly one person. I don't know if you could say Metal Gear is like that with Hideo Kojima, but there are games like that, right, where mostly one person is the responsibility. Like, for example, Ico is mostly thanks to freaking, what's his name, Fumito Ueda. Is it not?
Sure.
I would say. I mean, I know there are lots of important people who have their important jobs.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That sometimes the headliner takes a lot of the credit, maybe a little unjustly. I've heard
probably
similar
unjustly.
talk about like Kojima is. I would hesitate to say over-credited, but like there are a lot of writers on those games, not just him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For like the Metal Gear games and everything.
Right. Yeah, so this was one game that, because the person who, it's a storybook looking kind of game, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think the previous game that woman made also was a storybook-looking kind of game with similar graphics, and I can't remember the name of it now. But yeah, this is the one. Is this not the one where um, the dragon lives with the girl, and every night
Yeah.
the dragon tells the girl about the great hero who was her father, who slayed the Dark Lord, but it turns out that Dark Lord is actually the dragon. Like for some
Well,
reason.
I couldn't tell you because it was all in Japanese.
Yeah, I watched it and I understood it. So yeah, like the dragon is telling the girl about the dragon is the Dark Lord that
Right.
had a battle with her father. And for whatever reason though, he's raising her up to become the next great warrior like her father, even though she'd probably end up killing him when she finds out and becomes strong enough to defeat him, right? So like what's going on there? Interesting as hell.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the only other point here is to say that this is scheduled for June in Japan for both the PS4 and Switch.
Okay. Nice. Thank you for those quickies, Mel.
No problem.
Okay, I'm going to go in with my first story, and this is one that I wanted to say last week or 2 weeks ago on the episode that we lost because of bad recording. Final Fantasy VII speedrun world record has somebody up and coming. It hasn't been taken by a new person yet. The current first place holder of any percent no slots, which means you don't use the slot machine ability of what's the character's name? Kate Sith or Katshi, whichever is your preferred pronunciation.
Right.
The first place holder is still Zeal, but it's like Zeal with an H, so it's like a Gilles maybe. And that guy beat it in just under 7 hours, 6 hours, 59 minutes, 9 seconds. Congratulations, right? And that was on a PS2, an American PS2, and that was 5 months ago. Okay, but just 2 weeks ago, one of the FF7 speedrunners whom I enjoy watching occasionally, Caleb Hart 42. Just 2 weeks ago, he got really close, dude. He's only 3 minutes and 30 seconds away from the record in a 7-hour game, right? So that's it's not like 3 minutes in an Olympic race. In a 7-hour run, that's not a lot of time, right? So just 2 weeks ago, I've been watching this guy. He plays on Twitch, but I've just been watching the little highlight videos that he uploads on his YouTube channel, which I believe is just called Caleb Hart, Caleb, and then Hart is Hart. And yeah, that's all he does is he just runs the FF7 over and over again. And when he gets really bad luck, he gets really pissed off, throws the controller, and starts yelling. He's like, "Fuck! Why do I play this fucking game?" Stuff like that. It's so fun. And but when he finally gets a new PB, like he freaking gets a tear in his eye, and he starts talking like he's a motivational speaker. He's like, "Never give up, you guys. You can do this. We can do this. I can do it, and you can do what you're trying to do too." Like he starts talking like that. It's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and as a person, him as a person who's been, it looks like he does this full time. So he just runs this game multiple times per week to try to shave off time off of that 7:02 and 37 seconds. You can't really say that, just because he's playing video games, you can't really say that he's a person whom shouldn't be giving that kind of speech because he is not giving up. So,
we were just saying before this recording how crazy it must be for especially JRPG speedrunners.
Oh yeah.
How repetitive that genre is, and how long certain games can be with all the text scrolling and some unskippable cutscenes and the luck involved.
Yep, luck, man.
Good Lord.
Yeah. so he's doing his best, and I'm really, really looking forward to him eventually becoming the first place. I have no idea if player Gilles is still running and trying to improve his time. If he is, then it's going to be way harder for Caleb Hart to beat him. But I mean, whatever. He hasn't posted a new. Gilles hasn't posted a new time since 5 months ago. So maybe he's not currently running that game anymore. I don't know. So I'm really hoping Caleb Hart could take the prize. That'll be so fun. And then I'm looking forward to him maybe trying to go after a different game after that. Maybe he also used to speedrun Mega Man X back in the day, which is also a really popular and fun game, right? So yeah, I wonder if he'll just continue playing FF7 to make sure nobody can beat him, or does he just want to take the world record once and then move on to the next game maybe? Because even if he just takes the world record once, it could stay there for months and months without getting beaten, possibly. I mean, Gilles hasn't been beaten in 5 months, so. Yeah.
I mean, I bet you have, and we probably have mentioned this on the channel. You're familiar with the YouTube channel Summoning Salt?
Oh, yes, I am.
Of course.
I learned it from you, actually, and I was so impressed by
that's
it.
why I feel like we were probably talking about this before. Yeah, I haven't seen very many JRPGs covered on his channel.
Yeah, he does a lot of Punch-Out and Mario Kart, but
action games in general, not necessarily like sport games, but definitely not
not RPGs.
more static story-driven games. But those games get speed ran a lot, and it always blows my mind that people would try to speedrun these games, which are so unfriendly to the concept. They're not like racing games. They're not like games that are designed to.
It's not Sonic the Hedgehog, yo.
Right. It's not. Yeah. It's not a game that is in any way explicitly rewarding you for going fast. It's often punishing you.
Yeah.
And it's not an action game where you would be faster if you were more skilled at the game. These are games where people are doing bizarre shit to be fast at it, and clearly essentially playing it at a much higher difficulty level because they're trying to be fast.
Totally.
It always blows my mind, and role-playing games in general I just would never pick one to be. If I had to get into speedrunning, it would not be one of those games.
I wouldn't pick a JRPG either, probably. Yeah. It is amazing when you look at like times for JRPGs, because right now you're playing Final Fantasy VIII and we're like, okay, maybe in 2 weeks we can get past up to the Deling City mission. But like, can you imagine just sitting down and beating Final Fantasy VIII in 7 hours? That's like in two play sessions for you.
I mean, sure, but the thing is, I would burn out so hard. Like we'll get into it maybe more during like the turn-based memory show, but I avoid games that I really, really like because I don't want to burn out on them.
That's interesting.
I want to replay them a bunch. So games like Skies of Arcadia, I have replayed that game a lot, but I don't like listen to the soundtrack. I don't watch other people play that game. It has at this point been some time since I've touched it. And when I do go back to it, it still feels like when I was first playing it a little bit, just a little bit. It's still in there a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know if I were to like dive into that game and just like tear it all the way apart and watch people get all the way in it, I'd fucking lose some of that a little bit. So there are certain games that I don't touch because I don't want to touch them like frequently.
I see. Yeah. Yeah,
and you have to be willing to do that for a speed run. That's what it's all about. Is just like getting all the way into the guts.
I don't know. I'm thinking about myself in that scenario, like in a speedrunning a JRPG scenario, and I guess the game that I would choose, if it was a JRPG anyway, the game I would choose would be Star Ocean 4, because that's the JRPG that I know I have the most memorized.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd like it any less because I already have played it a hell of a lot. So, and that's my thing is my favorite thing about games is, I go through it the first time without looking up things online, but the entire time, I'm seriously just like, it's a brutal trial of willpower not to go look up stuff, not because I want to get through it faster or beat the hard boss more easily. It's just because I'm dying to know what's in the game, all the
True.
secrets. Like, I just enjoy secrets. And so, I have the every secret in Dragon Warrior 1 video on Turn-Based Memories channel. Man, when I found out all that stuff, I was like, this is the most amazing crap I've ever heard in my life when I was hearing that. So, yeah. I guess we're opposites in that way.
A little bit. There's only some games I'm like that with. It's really like the ones that I hold that had a moment in time for me, and there honestly aren't that many games that fit that bill. So,
Right.
but the ones that do, like Ocarina of Time or Skies of Arcadia, and maybe a few others I can't think of right now. But yeah, anything else, sure, whatever. But
Yeah. Okay, so that was Caleb Hart
uh-huh.
getting second place in Final Fantasy VII speedrun, any percent, no slots. What's your next story, Mel?
All right. Shall we do the depressing one or the more depressing one?
Um,
You want to do the PSN one or the Sakaguchi one?
I want to do the Sakaguchi one. I don't know why.
All right, let's do that one. Let me navigate over to it real quick. So the basics is that Hironobu Sakaguchi, famous JRPG director,
Oh yeah, Final
has
Fantasy.
come out. Yeah, Final Fantasy, and then later on, which by now is not recent, Blue Dragon and the Last
Lost
Story
Odyssey. Yeah.
and Lost Odyssey. That's true. Um, he has come out saying that he wants to only really get involved in new projects and he's really not interested in remasters. So I respect the hell out of that because I think certain people's talents are maybe wasted on just being told, no, make another one. And I've said this a bunch of the From Software people. I think those guys are probably in their best element when they're building something new.
You
And
might be right.
as much as I will play a Dark Souls 4, I hope there isn't one.
Right.
I hope that these guys keep doing things like making Sekiro and Bloodborne and these new, even though they are in the same vein, but they're new. There's a lot new to them. They're not stuck having to do a callback and then having to live under this umbrella of people turning it around and saying, well, this isn't Dark Souls. Well,
Mm,
this is something new, right? This is
yeah.
Bloodborne. This is not that. This is whatever. So, by the same token, as much as I would play a Bloodborne 2, I hope they don't make one.
I think
Uh,
what's his name? Miyazaki. What is his name? Something Miyazaki.
um,
Hidetaka.
correct.
Yeah, I believe it was a long time ago that Hidetaka Miyazaki said, "Yeah, I'm not going to make any more Souls games." So
Well, he became like the president of that company.
he
He's not,
did. That's right.
yeah.
He totally did. Yeah. But the funny thing is, with them and Hidetaka Miyazaki in particular, it's kind of funny. They're like, I don't want to. He's like, I don't want to make any more Souls games now, at least not for a long time. But like every game he makes, it's just so oddly similar to the Dark Souls formula. Like they all have, equipment builds that you create and character builds. They're all these action RPGs. They're all pretty hard. They're all dark, and they're all a lot of just
Hmm.
exploration in a free, open kind of world. And also, like, yeah, from one to the next, like, I don't know about Sekiro, I haven't played it, but it sounds like it's like just Dark Souls with like a few tweaks and like a different setting, is it not?
Correct.
Okay, it is, yeah. And so is Bloodborne, and Elden Ring will be too. And then,
Exactly. I forgot about Elden Ring.
right, and the really hilarious thing about it all, though, is that this was supposed to be a game inspired by one of the first uh what is it? Not Souls games. It's supposed to be one of the first From Software games, which was Kingsfield or something.
Kingsfield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I guess it's similar in some ways, although back then that wasn't Hidetaka Miyazaki, it was another guy. And then the most famous franchise before Souls games came out by them was the Armored Core series. And when I played
Right.
and when I played Dark Souls or Demon Souls, I guess for the first time, and after I got into it a little bit, I was like, this is really just like Armored Core, except the world is open and you're not robots. Because like the whole
Interesting.
thing is that it's not like JRPGs where you find the better equipment. No, you just find different equipment that you can use. So there's like attack animations to what do I want to say?
I see what you're saying.
There are
Yeah, there's
attack
more appropriate equipment. There's, you're just
you
using the right tool for the job.
Yeah, right. Use the right tool for the job, or just allowing players to have fun with customization and builds, and that's exactly what freaking Armored Core is. You just build
Mhm.
whatever robot you want, and check it out, and then you change parts and make it work a little bit differently, and have fun doing that. So I see a lot of similarities in most of their games. So
So I would, to sort of tie it back down to the original article here,
sorry, yeah, Sakaguchi.
about, because there's a important part to the end of this. So this is all being taken from an interview he did, and he mentioned that this may be his last project, and by this I mean Fantasian, which is
Fantasian. Well
the
then,
Apple Arcade release that came out very
yeah,
recently. Part
yeah.
one of which came out recently.
Part one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's going to be a part two, which I believe is the final part. It may not be, but there is a part two coming, and this is part one that has released. And in the interview, he mentions that this could, he says here, I think it is certainly possible that this could be my last project. And that was kind of in the back of my mind as we were developing it.
So what does he mean he wants to just only make when did he say he wants to make new games and not remakes? I mean, he's not going to make any games, is he not? After
Yeah.
this.
So the quote here is, to be perfectly honest, there aren't any plans for any remakes at the moment, although they're called remakes. The amount of effort and resources it would command means the difference is basically nil between developing a remake versus a completely new game.
Are you
And
serious? No way.
then he says, I would personally find myself more attracted to the idea of coming up with another original story or world or building something new. He then goes on to say,
This may be
but
my last
maybe
project.
I'm done anyway.
Okay.
He's younger than I thought. He's 58. I thought he
Okay.
was older than that. I thought he was like Miyamoto's age. Miyamoto's like 68.
Okay. You thought he was 10 years older? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of assumed he was, but he did say, and I guess he's sort of speaking for him on to some degree. He said that this game, Fantasian, is probably most likely the last work for Nobuo Uematsu, because
As well.
he's been having health issues, and
Oh,
so he feels pretty certain that he's going to retire after this.
okay.
He's been having health issues for some time now. It's been like 5 years or more. Like I've been hearing this come up in the headlines where, oh, he canceled certain engagements and he's not doing as many projects and blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah. These guys got to
at
be
the time,
careful.
yeah, I know a lot of these like big NES era developers, particularly the ones in Japan, they're hitting retirement age. They're at that age.
A lot of these guys who make really famous stuff like freaking work themselves into the hospital even when they're young. Like
It's true.
freaking Yasunori Mitsuda's first game was Chrono Trigger that he did the soundtrack for. He went to the hospital. It's like, how old are you when you work on your first game? Like early 20s, mid 20s, right? And
Right.
he had to
The
go to the
Final
hospital
Fantasy 12 developer had a mental breakdown at some point
or
during
something.
development.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
There's
he,
there's a lot of not the best corporate culture going on when it comes to tech industry in Japan. A lot of sleeping under desks,
yep.
which is unfortunate. I don't know if that's so much the situation anymore. Certainly not with the older. Like as one of the things in Japanese corporate culture is you gain seniority, you kind of are promoted higher and higher up into these like lofty advisory positions.
Yeah.
Like Miyamoto is not developing a game anymore. He's just, he's signing off on stuff. He's giving
Yeah.
his blessing. He's probably basically retired already, I would imagine.
Indeed. Well,
Well,
that
that's
sucks.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sucks.
not
I mean,
not the greatest news, but at the same time, these guys deserve to cash in, if you want to call it that. Like,
yeah, I don't even think want to say that it's a shame or whatever that he's gonna stop making games because I mean he made games as long as he wanted to make games. I would
right.
assume the thing that's a shame to me is that all his last games had to be freaking mobile games. That is the shame.
Yeah, I think the timing is just bad. There was a lot of pressure and incentive from Apple to get this Apple Arcade thing going out, so they put a lot of feelers out. And if this were 5 years earlier or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he would have been doing it for the Switch or something. But it is what it is.
I mean,
And
Miss
maybe
Walker
this
never
game
made a
will
game
come
for Switch,
to.
did they?
No, not that I'm aware. Maybe they
Yeah,
did, but I don't think they did. No,
yeah. So that's the damn shame. I think like
I agree.
they got to Xbox, which I'm not going to say that was originally a damn shame, but in the end, it turned out to
It
be
turned into
no
one.
good,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, they started out trying to get all these Japanese developers, and they got some. They got Tails and they got Star Ocean, but then that's like they just stopped after that. They got a
pretty
bunch in the
much.
beginning, and then they stopped. And then now Tails and Star Ocean are available on PS4, and Star Ocean came out 1 year later anyway on PS3. But yeah, finally, Tales of Vesperia came out on PlayStation and on PS4 recently. So finally, all the people who oh, dude, I'm gonna tell you something funny about sales of Tales of Vesperia between the PS4 version and the Xbox 360 version. It's kind of funny.
Okay.
Yeah. But Mistwalker was on Xbox for a while, and it turned out that in the end, Xbox wasn't getting a lot of other JRPGs,
Right.
and therefore they probably weren't getting a lot of JRPG fans. I don't know how much that game sold, but it was one of the most popular JRPGs on the thing. So, do you know if it sold well or not? I would
I don't
assume.
know the numbers off the top of my head, but surely they stopped working with or Japanese developers stopped working with Microsoft for a good reason.
Yeah, I guess they just weren't selling enough consoles out here, right?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, may soon be an official goodbye to Hironobu Sakaguchi. Um, I guess when that happens, we should like go through all the list of games that
Ugh,
he made, right, and talk about. At least you haven't played them all, but you've played quite a few now that you've met me.
true. Yeah, now that we've been doing the turn-based memories things, I've played a lot more of his
Yeah.
work than I had prior. But yeah, there's a lot of bittersweet retirements on the horizon. There
Yeah.
are a lot
Oh
coming
man,
up.
man! Just like recently, I saw on Twitter Soraya Saga, who, if you don't recognize that name, she's one of the people who helped make Xenogears, and
Mm.
she is the wife of Tetsuya Takahashi, and the two of them wrote that story together. It's like the most
Oh
beautiful
wow.
story I've ever heard. Yeah, it's like match made in goddamn heaven. But
That's
anyway,
cute.
right? She just recently freaking like tweeted in Japanese. I just realized I've been in this industry for 30 years.
Whoa.
So I don't know. I guess she's feeling it. I don't know.
Oof.
Yep. Okay, let's go on to a new story. This is some fun stuff, yo. Landale has finished his 300th console RPG. It's Golden Sun for the Game Boy Advance. Now, do you remember who Landale is, Mel? I've brought up his name a few times now.
You have that name string rings a bell for sure.
Okay, it just rings a bell. Yeah, so this is the guy who basically just plays RPGs on Twitch in his spare time. And I guess he has a lot of spare time because he freaking plays these games on Twitch and uploads them to his YouTube channel. We're talking 3 hours and up every day. And when it's like a weekend, it's like over 8 hour videos. So basically,
Is
he
he
just has
the
a
is he the
job.
one is he the one who says he wants to play like every fucking video game on the planet?
He is the one who says he's
Oh
going to play
gosh.
every RPG in order of release date, as long as it's on a
Oh
console
yes.
anyway. He,
Okay, okay.
yeah, every console RPG that ever came out. But that also includes freaking handhelds as well.
Okay.
He's not like us who just want to play home consoles, right? So
Yeah.
already a hardcore enough venture that he was taking. Plus, he's adding in freaking handhelds, yo. So, um, I don't know where I got this thing. I've had this in my Google Sheets or Google Drive for a long time now. But let me maximize this. Um, if you want to click the link that I have there, this is
Yeah, I'm looking.
I think I got this document from maybe his Twitch channel, perhaps. It was in there, maybe. Like if you input a
Oh,
command, you can
okay.
download this thing. And so I freaking downloaded it, yo. Or at least I'm just looking at his one because I can't edit it. Um, and he has created a list, like in what is this thing called? It's a spreadsheet. It's a Google Sheets document,
Yeah.
spreadsheet of every RPG ever released on home consoles. It says right here, added
Huh.
added new releases up to March 8th, 2021, yo. So he's got all
Wow.
of them. It says right up here, RPG total 1,533. But among those, some of them are releases and ports. So that's 1,310 that are unique.
Holy cow.
He has finished. He's only gonna play the unique ones. He's not gonna play every port. He has finished 300 now, and he eliminated a few from the list because he actually, upon playing some games that were commonly known as RPGs, he like highlighted it in red and put a comment that says this is actually not an RPG. There's no character development. So I appreciate him for that. And you'll notice if you're looking like at all the game, like he has all these tabs at the bottom, the master
Yeah.
list, the top game by release date. So if you look at games beaten, which is also all the games by release date, let's get all the way to the top here. You know, like the first game that's got like a red highlighter on is Legacy of the Wizard. A lot of people think that's an RPG. That is totally just a freaking, I don't know what even to say. It's some kind of action game. I played it once. It's by Falcom, I think. It's like, yeah, so by the East guys, right? And I think Legacy of the Wizard might have some relation, maybe, to Legend of Heroes. No, I'm sorry, it's not Legend of Heroes that it's really to. It's like called Dragon Slayer, which is another series that they have. But anyway, a lot of people think this is an RPG, but it's not. You can't level up or anything. So, and I knew that. So I appreciated it that he noticed that and marked this in red and said this is not an RPG. And you would also notice by going through this list, games beaten, Legend of Zelda 1 is not here, but then Legend of Zelda 2 is here, but then no other Legend of Zelda games are here. So he knows what is an RPG, which I find funny because he put in freaking Alundra from PlayStation 1, and I went on his Twitch stream and was like, so you consider this an RPG? And he's like, yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not really too bent hung up on what small details makes a game an RPG, but this game is considered an RPG, so I'm including it anyway. Okay, but
All right.
but it's very, very obviously a Zelda clone. You'll see it. Like the only thing it's not the same is the boomerang. There's no boomerang. It's like the only thing that's different. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, so this guy has put in some work, yo. He's beat 300 games, yo. That's every game that's ever come out up till Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance, yo. If you go and look at the video that he released on YouTube called RPG Quest number 300, he gave his series a very generic name, RPG Quest. Number 300, Golden Sun GBA Part 6.5. That's the last one that he did. Total current time of Golden Sun, where he actually beat the game, it took him 36 hours, 35 minutes, and 48 seconds. Total time for all 300 games combined, 7,731 hours. Oh, my God.
Oh, God almighty.
God almighty. Right? This is amazing. So what is 7,730? Hold on, let me bust out my calculator. Sorry, I'm not good at math in my head.
7,000. You're trying to get like the hour count.
Yeah, what's the average among 300 games? So 7,731 hours divided by 300 equals. So we're looking about 26 hours per game. So
Sounds about right.
that is for the oldest games, the oldest console JRPGs. SNES game. I'm sorry, NES games are way shorter than PlayStation 1 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to his list, where is it? Go. No, this way. Master list. The shortest game he's ever played so far was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons on the Intellivision console. 32 minutes to beat that game.
There you go.
The longest game, oh man, I can vouch for this too. The longest game he's played so far was Dragon Warrior 7 for the PlayStation 1. Took him 137 hours, yo. And he doesn't like 100% these games or anything. He just plays them like normal. As far as I know. So, amazing, right?
This is like historical.
This
It's
is.
really good that he is keeping all of this so well archived, because I feel like this works pretty well. This spreadsheet isn't just like, here's a list of games. Like, he's got all these formulas going, and
Yeah.
like he's got all these tabs at the bottom that kind of organize. This is just like a good directory to use to be like, hey, what's a good role playing game on
Yeah.
fucking in television?
On the television. Yeah, so it's fun to go look at just every individual system. So what's the first?
Yeah.
What's the first system? The first system is the Atari 2600. It has one game. I looked up this game. I believe it was developed by a Western developer, but he classifies this game as a JRPG. That is interesting. It's like the first JRPG ever made by anyone was on the Atari 2600. It wasn't Dragon Quest 1, and it was made by a Western developer. Like, for real? That's amazing. I got to look into that. The next one is the ColecoVision has one RPG called Gateway to Apshai. It's an action RPG. This is crazy. And Intellivision has two, and they're both Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game. And then we finally get to the NES, and all of a sudden, boom, 34 JRPGs, or RPGs, not only J, all RPGs. Yeah, and so impressive. Amazing to me that the first one, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Heroes of the Lance, or no, it is, it's an RPG. Wait. Let's go back. I'm pretty sure he said that one wasn't an RPG. Games Beaten. Here we go. Get up to the top. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, here it is. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Hero of the Lance. He, in the Games Beaten section anyway, he puts a message that says, no character development experience counts only as score. Action-adventure game. Oh, so there you go. Wasn't even an RPG. Everybody would assume an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game would be an RPG, right? So this guy is doing God's work, yo.
Yeah, he's only done 2 GameCube RPGs so far: Skies of Arcadia and Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's only on the 300th game, and let's see. He's up.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
So that 300th game that he beat Golden Sun, that came out in 2001. So he's on year 2001 now. Amazing.
He's getting there, though. That's like getting into GameCube territory right there.
Is it? Yeah. So
yeah.
Hold on. And one more fun thing that he has in here. Top games. He freaking rates every game 1 out of 5 stars. He's like the most freaking stereotypical reviewer in the world, though. Like, so he has a tab for top games, which is only the games that he gave 5 stars to. And it's like every game that you would expect to be there. No weird things at all, I would say. Zelda 2 got on there. All the Phantasy Stars are on there. All the Dragon Warriors are on there. All the freaking Final Fantasies are on there. Like, he's a walking stereotype right now.
Hey. I mean, I would imagine if he's this heavy into this completion stuff,
Yeah, he likes a lot of
probably
them,
in
right?
there.
Yeah,
He
he's
likes
not.
a lot of them.
Yeah, I was stoked that both Star Ocean games that he's played got on there, and I was also stoked to see that all he actually played both versions of Lunar 1 and Lunar 2. It was on the
Hmm.
PS1 later, and before that, originally on the Sega Saturn. And all four of those games, both versions of both two games, made the top five out of 5 stars, which I always care about because that game just it's calling to me, dude. It's gonna be the best thing you've ever played, Zoltan. It says.
Uh,
I don't know. I got a feeling.
uh,
So anyway, this is a fun thing. Congratulations to Landale on finishing his 300th game. I hope he stays healthy, maybe works out once in a while, and drinks lots of water and eats plenty of healthy food so that he can continue doing this until where is it? Where is it? Total number. Yeah, until the 1,300th game. Man, this guy's out of his mind, dude. Like PlayStation 4 alone has 238 RPGs, unique RPGs.
oof. Oof.
It's the most. That is the most. In fact, that is by far the most. Holy crap. The next most would be PlayStation 2, but that's 145. So it has 100 more RPGs than PS2. Nintendo DS also has a hell of a lot, 136. So those are like the top 3 for number of RPGs.
Hmm.
This is funny. Xbox One has 21 RPGs, but 0 of them are unique. They're all out on other systems. And Xbox 360 also has 70 RPGs, but only 22 of them are unique. That's interesting. Yeah, Xbox is not the one for
Yeah,
RPGs.
that's not the one.
Yeah. Okay. That was fun. Phew. Your turn, Mel. Tell us your last
Okay,
story.
doke. All right. Sorry to be a downer twice in 1 week
Oh
here,
man.
but odds are if you're listening to this show, I say this all the time, but odds are if you're listening to this show, you already know that the PlayStation Network for specifically the PS3 and PSP, and then in August, PS Vita, is going to shut down partway, meaning you can't buy anything.
Right.
If you have the game owned and it's not installed, you can still download it. The
Hmm.
servers aren't being shut down.
Eventually they will though, right?
Eventually they will.
Maybe 2 or 3 years
Uh,
from then, maybe just 1 year, I don't know.
Hopefully a little longer. I don't
Yeah.
know, but and I'll get into why that's hopefully. But for now, it is set to go down in June or July rather of this year, and then August for the PlayStation Vita. So what they did over at GameSpot was they listed a bunch of games that they think are worth buying now
Oh.
because they're really the only way that you can buy them
Hmm.
still. If you're gonna forego emulation, these are the only ways that you can own them. And so I'm just gonna run through this really quick.
Okay.
Doom Souls, the original Doom Souls. I know there
Yeah.
is a remake, but the
There is a
original
remake, yeah.
is yeah. Just gonna look at the ones that are like in our wheelhouse, maybe. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, it
That's
might be in our
again
house.
right. Yeah, I'm talking mostly Japanese games here. In my opinion, Resident Evil the HD collection that you can actually get on Steam. So I'm not quite sure why they're listing that one here, but has my strong recommendation all the same.
I don't know if you're going to mention this next one, but I've played it, so I'll mention Tokyo Jungle was pretty fun
I
on
just scrolled
PS3.
right past Tokyo Jungle. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, they're saying Final Fantasy IV the Complete Collection. That's on the PSP. And then Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions on
Also
PSP.
PSP. Yeah, that would say
Yeah.
a little bit enhanced remake of quite enhanced remake maybe of the original FF Tactics, but it does have some downside. It's not only pluses. For example, spell animations like start chugging the frame rate, yo.
Oof.
Yeah, that's not cool.
That stinks.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Persona 3 Portable.
I have
Uh,
Persona 3 downloaded on PS3.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is still in the PSP category here. SMT Persona 2 Innocent Sin. I haven't even heard of that one.
That's
There's a lot of
the.
Persona out there.
I mean, it's Persona 2, is it not? Yeah.
Persona 2 colon
Innocent
Innocent
Sin.
Sin.
Yeah, I know it's weird, right?
I hadn't heard of that one, to be honest.
Hmm.
Over on the PlayStation Vita, which will be shut down in August, there's Persona 4 Golden. I have heard of that one.
That's like the most famous Vita
That's
game of them
probably
all.
the most famous one. Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of this game. I know it strangely more than I realized.
Dude, these graphics look
Uh,
nice. I wonder if this screenshot that I'm looking at here from Persona 4 Golden is actually it's from the Vita, right? So yeah, it probably is the actual Vita graphics and not an emulator.
yeah, might
Dude, that
be.
looks
Yeah,
really good because original Persona 4 was a PS2 game. But man, these look
right.
nice.
Yeah, these are pretty sharp. Like they're not blurry.
Yeah.
These look pretty good.
The OLED
Uh,
screen, right?
Yeah, there it is. As far as PlayStation, well, they also mentioned the Persona 4 dancing game.
Yep,
Persona 4
dancing all
Dancing
night.
All Night. I remember hearing about that one.
Oh, here we go. The next
Uh,
section is my section. PlayStation Classics.
yeah, Mega Man Legends 1 and 2,
You,
and New Misadventures of Tron Bond. I heard a lot about that.
should I get those? I've never played a Mega Man Legends game.
I have not either. To be
Okay,
honest, the only ones that I am a big fan of are the original, like early Mega Man X games.
right.
Those are the ones that I like a lot.
Shadow
And then
Tower. That game is not popular at all, yo.
yeah, I don't know why that's on this list, but of course the last one,
Oh man.
Xenogears.
Oh, they're forgetting another one too. You also need to add. There are several games. Okay.
Oh, this is their list, so you
They're
add to it. What's
they're
your
they're
list?
missing stuff, and really, if you have a PS3 and you don't have a PS1, and you like old school JRPGs, it's totally worth your while to go just browse through the RPG section of the PlayStation 1 classics specifically.
Right.
A lot of rare games are in there, not all of them. You can't get Valkyrie Profile, you can't get Star
True.
Ocean 2, but you can't get Brave Fencer Musashi either, which is driving me crazy. But you can get Xenogears, otherwise extremely rare. You can get Alundra, unbelievably rare. Because the only other way to get the games is physical copies. They never came out on PSP or anything.
Right.
You can get Breath of Fire 4, not 3, I don't think, unfortunately, but you can get 4. I actually still have my 3 discs, so that's great. You can get FF Tactics, FF 789. Also, there are some other games that are published by Working Designs, I believe it is. Yeah, they're the ones who published Alundra. They also published Lunar. I don't remember if Lunar's on that store. I don't think it is. But Vanguard Bandits is a strategy RPG with mechs that is also extremely rare. Not really talked about much, but people who have played it all say it's the greatest thing ever. And you can get Suikoden 1 and I think 2 as well on
I think you're
there.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's more too. Legend of Mana is on there, although that's getting a new a remaster, so that's cool. Yeah, there are lots of good freaking PS1 classics on there. Totally worth getting if you
Yeah.
don't have them already.
I'm gonna have to take a quick browse through myself just for our show and make sure I have anything that
You don't think you can emulate,
I
right?
don't I don't think I can, because I've been running into weird PS1 emulator, and I'm sure I could probably figure it out, but it's nice to have the safety net of, well, if it doesn't emulate and or well or whatever, then at least I have this PS3. But unfortunately, even that isn't a failsafe, like permanent failsafe, because once they do shut down the servers for the PSN on the PS3 completely, whenever
Mm-hmm.
that happens, let's say it's 5 years from now,
Okay.
uh, eventually what's going to happen is that your PS3 is going to the little battery, the CMOS battery that's on the physical board for the PS3.
Mm.
It'll eventually run down, and this is the battery that keeps power to the system like the basic, very low lying power
Yeah.
to the system when it's unplugged and or when you have a power outage, for example. And some of that data that is stored that relies on that CMOS battery is the purchase validation data. So when that battery dies,
You can't go
and you
download things
unplug,
anymore.
no, you can't even
Oh, that's right.
play your shit anymore. Because
What?
in order to play your PSN games that you downloaded, it
Yeah.
needs to check with the server that you have a proper license and that you didn't just
Are
somehow
you
copy it
serious?
onto that hardware.
Mm.
So it checks against it just makes sure you have the license. It phones home and makes sure. And if you don't, if it's unable to make that connection, you can't play the game. Now, in order for you to encounter that problem today, the battery will have to have been defective or removed or dead, and you lost power. That's the only way you can replicate that scenario. And that scenario is going to happen to all of these hardware whenever the server shuts down, because the only way it's able to save that. So if your hardware dies, your battery rather
Yeah.
dies, it can still make a live connection to the server now. The server's still up. When the server goes away and the battery goes away, that's saving the local check. Unless people soft mod their hardware to
To not require
circumvent
that.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
or just always accept it or whatever. You're gonna lose access to the stuff you already downloaded, which to me is fucking
Is
bananas.
there? Yeah, that is. Is there no way to just when the battery runs out, it's not in the battery. It's just the battery that produces the power that uh powers whatever it is part of the chip that holds the memory of the licenses and stuff, right? So if you just
Yeah,
change the battery, like get it done professionally by somebody or whatever, then you'll be fine again.
I don't know if it's a battery that can be removed. I mean, yeah, if you were
Well,
able,
well,
I
pros can
assume
do it, yo. Pros can do it, right?
a pro could probably do it now if you think it's going to run out now. But from everyone that I've been told, like once this battery does run down, which one day it's going to happen,
Yeah.
it'll, so for the vast majority of people who own this hardware, that's a likely outcome. Although, or an eventual outcome, I should say. Although I will also say that if your hardware, if your PS3 is still chugging along at that point, uh, it's probably not going to be the point of failure is the battery. There's probably going to be some other fan failure or some
Yeah.
other like mechanical failure in these not the best put together machines that are like the old fat models like I have. They're just not going to be around for 15 more years if you use them regularly, or if you're going to sit in a closet, it's probably going to break somehow.
Yeah.
So,
I just
I
wish
hate
they
to
would
say
make
it.
all these games available on PS4 or 5 or whatever.
Yeah, I
To
mean,
buy whatever even.
they may do, but you'll have to buy them again, and then
Yeah,
they'll
it's
be
annoying.
up to whatever fucking like, oh, it'll be on the PS6, but not the PS7, like the same fucking
Yeah, it never ends.
garbo.
I mean, hmm.
And then the longer this goes on for, which is to say, the more games exist,
Yeah.
you're gonna have this ballooning back catalog problem and this rights
Yeah.
issues because it's not like movies where it's a relatively simple thing to host and play back movies on streaming services like Netflix. And even though now we have all these platforms, we have Disney Plus and HBO and Netflix and Hulu and all that, and that's a pain in the ass. That's an artificial problem. The real problem that you have with games is the emulation takes effort, time, and money to develop a stable emulation platform. And so there has to be an incentive for this. And you're not likely, although I guess it may change, but I was about to say you're less likely to get a sort of free streaming like the PS1 streaming service. But then I also have my issues with that because the minute they take down that streaming service, you lose
Yeah.
access to your games, which I'm not a fan of, and I'm sure most people listening to this show are not either. So it remains, whether you find it, you know, moral or not, it remains the best way to preserve things is through emulation, unofficial emulation.
Yep.
It is what it is. These companies are just not doing that preservation work themselves. They don't appear to have an interest in doing it. So the only way to remain in full control of the games you own, and obviously the ones you don't own as well, if you're going to steal them, is through emulation. It's just the only way that exists right now.
Yeah. You are right. All right. Should we move on to our last story, which is not a bummer again? How come I'm
Yes.
bringing all the happy news and you're just bringing all the sad news, man?
That sounds about right.
Does it? Okay. All right. So,
Yes.
I believe, where is it? Here it is. The Tales of series is having its 25th anniversary this year. First game came out was Tales of Fantasia 25 years ago. So on the Tales of YouTube channel, that's the name of the channel. Tales of YouTube channel is all in the name of the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch this thing, which is a Japanese video to like. Oh, I meant to check the name. Let me check the name right now. Okay, I just found it immediately. I'm amazing. Tomizawa. I can't read his name in Japanese. Maybe that says Yusuke.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Can you guys hear this? Can you hear that, Mel?
はい、
No.
それでは皆さん、
Okay.
こんにちは。テールズオブシリーズ IP 総合プロデューサーの富澤です。
Just a moment.
そして
Okay. So it's the IP producer and I just had it. Here it is. And the YouTube channel manager. Okay. So the Tales of producer, IP producer, and the YouTube channel manager made this video where they freaking announce all the best-selling games in the entire series up till like last year or so. So that's impressive. This is some fun stuff to hear. So you can just see just a quick rundown of all the games listed and nothing else on this Gematsu article that I linked. But I also watched the whole video and I listened to all their little stories and their little tidbits of information that I thought were interesting and wrote some stuff down. So first, let's go ahead and hit the top 10s here. So the first one is worldwide best-selling games, just of all sales in the entire world. Number 10, Tales of Destiny 2. In the West, it was called that.
Uh-huh.
In Japan, it's called something else. I forgot. Maybe Legendia or something. No, I forgot already. Number 9, Tales of Exilia. Number 8, Tales of Eternia. Number 7, Tales of the Abyss. Number 6, Tales of Fantasia. That's the first Tales game ever.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Tales of Berseria. That's a PS4 game. Number 4, Tales of Zestiria. I think that was on PS3 and on
Correct.
PS4. Okay.
Yep.
Number 3, Tales of Destiny. That was on PS1. Number 2, Tales of Vesperia. That was originally on Xbox and then, on Xbox, and in Japan it was on PS3, and then later the remaster came out on PS4. And number 1, Tales of Symphonia, which was PS2 and GameCube, I believe.
Correct.
So I just went through the list real quick now. So let me bust out the little notes that I made here. And not too many notes for the worldwide sales, but number 3, Tales of Destiny, sold 1,720,000 copies. This is before this is PS1, so there weren't any digital copies back then. And nearly all of them were sold in Japan. That is kind of funny. That's a damn shame. I had Tales of Destiny on the PS1, but I never got all the way through it. And I don't know why. Just it's not because I didn't like it or anything. I mean, it had freaking Motoi Sakuraba soundtrack, which I enjoy and everything. So I'm not sure why I never finished it. And the freaking characters' hair is longer than their swords. Number 2 was Tales of Vesperia. Way big jump, yo. 2,370,000. Now that includes the remaster. And the remaster alone sold 1 million, yo. That was the PS4 one, right? That's the one you played, Mel.
That's correct.
Yep, it was their, and that was their first. This is stuff that they said in Japanese, although you could turn on subtitles and read it. In the video, they said that that was their very first global simultaneous release, not the original, but the definitive edition. That was their first time trying to do that, and they made the comment that worldwide releases are really tough. But Arise, Tales of Arise, will be a worldwide release, and they would like to release all future games simultaneously worldwide if they can. I don't know what the benefit of that is, other than it just feels good to have the game everywhere all at once, and you're going to get all the sales all at once. Other than that, I wonder what the benefit of that is. They didn't really talk about that.
The benefit of a worldwide release?
Right, a benefit of it being simultaneously worldwide, instead of taking 6 months to translate it and then releasing it later.
I guess, yeah, like you're saying, it gets all of the
Gets everything
it
done
gets
all
all
at
the
once.
sales done
Yeah.
at once. It's probably easier or better for whatever. But also, I know there used to be a lot more like hand wringing about region locking, and there were a lot more concerns over imports and exports in games because people were worried, oh, we're going to lose money if people from the U.S. buy Japanese games instead of waiting for the Japanese release, because the
Waiting for the
conversion
U.S. release, you mean?
yes,
Yeah.
because the dollar conversion is not in
cheaper or something.
Japan's
I
favor,
see.
right?
Right.
And that was one of Nintendo's longest stated reasons for region locking their hardware and their games long after other companies gave up. But I
That's
don't know.
interesting.
I think it's more a streamlined development process that just makes it possible. Like, you don't want to have to wait, and especially today where everyone knows what's going on every day. You're not waiting for a monthly magazine anymore.
Yeah.
People are just gonna hear about this game, and then it'll come out, and then after 6 months, maybe they don't care anymore. I guess that's not gonna be true. It probably just makes it easier for them to just see, well, all right, what's the global interest in this game all at once?
Yeah, I see. And the number one was Tales of Symphonia, 2.4 million copies. That is only 30,000 more than Tales of Vesperia, and Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition is still selling. So probably Tales of Vesperia is going to be number one of all Tales games in worldwide sales soon. So that's interesting.
That's crazy. I guess I have played Tales of Symphonia because I owned a GameCube, and it was one of a handful of role-playing games on that system.
Right, there's like 8 or something, right?
Right. And same story that I had with Vesperia. I respect it. It just wasn't clicking because at the time, and I guess even now, like action, the just
AI
the
companions,
gameplay,
right?
the AI companion action role playing game just doesn't click with me in a certain way. And you would think, oh, that means you don't like Final Fantasy 12. No, I love it.
No, you could totally control that one more, is why, right?
You can, but there's just other differences about it. I got pretty far into Symphonia. I think I got halfway through that game.
Okay, yeah. And then you decided not really
But
for you, huh?
I just decided to put it down. But that means a lot more then than it does now, because that was
You had
when I had
time.
all the time in the fucking world, and I really had to not want to play a video game in order to not continue. But yeah, no, that game, it kind of surprises me that it held on for so long. It's a pretty cool cast. Like, I think
Yeah,
I don't know,
the
the world is kind
characters
of
are
cool.
yeah, the characters in Symphonia are popular, and I believe it's like a story about like racism between like elves and other races or something.
Yeah, I do. You spend about the first half of the game, because this is all I remember, is you go around like collecting all of these gods that are trying to like have them join your side, and
Whoa.
there's something where you go into like it's an excuse to go into like different dungeons, right? With like these like big boss fights at the end, and then you fight the boss, and the boss is the guardian of that area, and then you're like, join my side for whatever the plot reason is, and we're like, okay, and
You
then,
beat me,
that's
so I
kind of
have
what the
to.
I guess, and then you go there, and then the end where the part where I dropped off was when you get the essentially when you get the airship
I
and
see.
you start flying around the map.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was an interesting combat system for its time. I totally didn't understand. It's like, why can't I move in an area? You can only move in a line back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
So that confused the hell out of me at the time. But
Yeah, original Tales games were like that, where it was a completely 2D
yeah,
game, side view,
right.
Tales of
I mean,
Fantasia and Destiny.
it was 3D, but you still could
Right, you
only
still
move
had to run left and right,
in a
right?
line.
I know.
And the line was sometimes at an angle depending on where your character was.
Oh,
So
in
they were
relation
moving
to the
like
target, right?
yeah, so it was still 2D, but not literally
But the movement
horizontal.
wasn't. Yeah.
It was like a Z-axis dynamic to it,
Yeah.
and I just remember thinking, "What is happening?" But
Okay.
definitely understand
Oh.
why it's popular.
Hmm. Yeah. But probably Tales of Vesperia is going to beat it soon, because only 30,000 copies away, and
True,
they're going to say later that the remaster is still selling. So,
true. Yeah, that's the more recent game. I haven't heard anything about Symphonia in a while now.
by the way, I noticed that they have during this whole 25th anniversary, which went on like all, I guess, is going on all year. It's 2021 now, so um, they these two guys have sat down and made a few of YouTube's like videos like this now, and I went back and watched one of them, which was the top 10 characters, and they got the ranking just by asking all the fans all over the world, like I guess through their website or something, which was interesting, and the one that we know would be Yuri from Tales of Vesperia. He was number 2, yo. So if the second most popular character in all of Tales games can't really strike your fancy, maybe Tales isn't going to be for you in the end now.
Probably not.
Yeah. I'm also looking at these numbers, and I'm kind of underwhelmed. I would have thought like Tales games sold more than 2
A
million,
couple
yo.
million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I
Like
guess
multiple
that's the
releases of Vesperia to get this number, yo, right?
yeah, that's
Huh.
true, especially when you hear like some recent like big breakout indie games getting millions of sales, and these
Right.
games have been out for years and years and years and are considered some of the best in their genre are like
Right.
2 million. It's like, really?
Yeah, what
Two? That's it?
happened?
I guess the size of the role playing genre, like the JRPG customer base, just isn't that big.
Isn't as big as, yeah, I don't know, shorter games or action games. Yeah.
I guess not. It's a little humbling, I guess you could say.
So that means that Tales of Destiny on PS1 selling, 1.7 million and nearly all of them in Japan. That's kind of insane to have that many just in Japan, I think then.
That is a lot, and especially for a PlayStation 1. So when you go further back to especially like the PS1 and era, the size of the industry was way smaller. Like it gets
Yeah.
exponentially smaller by a good
By a lot.
deal
Yeah.
every time you go back a generation, and by the time you hit like PS1 or Super Nintendo, a couple 100,000 units is a shit
Oh.
ton. It's really truly a lot. Like you only had some phenomenon games like Mario and whatever
Yeah,
breaking
that
into
sold
the
millions.
millions
Yeah.
and
Do you
continue to do so.
Do you think Chrono Trigger, just the original SNES cartridge, sold 1 million?
I really have no idea. I
Uh,
feel like I could be way off on maybe that was one of the ones that did or didn't, but uh, I
yeah,
just know that hundreds of thousands of games sold around PS1 and Super Nintendo was like
very
big
good.
news.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now multiple millions, like a big headline sale number is like 3, 4, 5 million.
Yeah, 3 and up, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're gonna go on to the Japan and Asia best-selling games list, and not before anything. Let me get the. Where's the internet? There it is. Okay. Number 10 was Tales of Graces. I can't remember which system that came out. I think it was the Wii. No. God, I can't remember. Sorry. Tales of Exilia. That was PS3. Tales of Rebirth. I don't remember. Tales of Symphonia. PS2 GameCube. Tales of the Abyss. Maybe PS2, but I don't remember. Tales of Vesperia. Xbox 360. And then also PS4 is included in there as well. Tales of Destiny 2. PS1. I had that one. Now let's get into the top 3 where they actually say the numbers. Sorry, I'm going through lots of different documents here. Okay, so they had this funny little anecdote before getting to the top 3. The logo for each version of Tales game is slightly different. Like the version meaning like which system it gets released on. For example, the Tales of the Abyss background has like this shield or seal looking thing behind the words, and the picture on the PS2 version is blue, but that seal thing on the 3DS version is yellow. And then the thing that they said was just like a huge pain in the ass was the Vesperia logo between the PS3 version and the Xbox 360 version, where the Xbox 360 one is like, one of them is like a little bit brighter than the other, and that's the only difference. But that turned out to make like be a huge problem when they were making merchandise, because they have to make sure the merchandise they sell in Japan is that for the Japanese has the exact same logo as the Japanese logo, even though they look almost identical, just like some brightness differences, and that's it. So I thought that was an interesting little anecdote. Number 3 was Tales of Eternia. It sold 1.2 million. It had 2 versions, the PS2 and PSP. But there were no digital versions yet of this game. Tales of Fantasia. That sold 1.2 million just in Japan and Asia, huh? Number 2 was Tales of Fantasia, the first Tales game. Got 1.33 million, but they did make a re-release of that one as well on PS1, I believe. So that's cool. And the most popular one in Japan was the one that I said nearly all the copies sold in Japan was Tales of Destiny on the PS1. 1.63 million. So out of 1.72 million, 1.90,000 of them were sold in the West, and all the rest were sold in Japan. That's a huge difference. So that's cool. Now let's get to North America. Where's the internet? There it is. North America, best-selling Tales games. Number 10 was Tales of Hearts. I don't remember that one. Number 9, Tales of Exilia 2. I believe that was on PlayStation 3. Number 8, Tales of Graces. Number 7, Tales of the Abyss. Number 6, Tales of Exilia, PlayStation 3. Number 5, Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World, and which also includes Tales of Symphonia Chronicles. Number 4, Tales of Berseria. That's the PS4 one. And get back to my notes. Here we go. So they mentioned that a long time ago, when they first started, making Tales of games, they were just making Japanese and English versions. But now they come out in 11 languages. Impressive. And the fastest possible localization you can get for a Tales game is 6 months. They take at least 6 months to localize into another language. Interesting. Number 3 was Tales of Zestiria, 600,000 copies. And it was like, that's like roughly half of the total sales. So half North America and then some other amount in Europe and Asia. The second most best-selling one in America was Tales of Vesperia. They sold 810,000 copies. I can't believe they didn't even sell a million copies of Vesperia in North America. But this is the hilarious thing. Tales of Vesperia is one of those infamous games that Microsoft got the rights to. One of those JRPGs that Microsoft got the rights to. So Tales of Vesperia was only on the Xbox 360 until that remaster came out, yo. The only other version of it I know, right? The only way the Western people could play it was on Xbox 360, and Japan had the PS3 version. But these 810,000 sales of Tales of Vesperia, 80% of them were the PS4 remaster.
I believe it.
So not that many people bought it on the Xbox, that means.
Yep, I believe it.
And number one in North America was Tales of Symphonia. 940,000. Still didn't break 1 million in America.
Mm,
And the last ranking would be Europe. Number 10 was Tales of the Abyss. Number 9, Tales of Eternia. Number 8, Tales of Exilia 2, PS3. Number 7, Tales of Graces. Number 6, Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World, plus Tales of Symphonia Chronicles is added into that. Number 5, Tales of Exilia, PS3. Number 4, Tales of Berseria, PS4. I have Berseria, by the way, and I'm having exactly the same problem with the combat that you had with, one of the same problems you had with the combat with Vesperia, which is where there's that massive freaking skill list, which I think is fun. But the thing is, every skill in there, it just makes this little minuscule difference in the combat. And it becomes hard to keep track of, like, what am I actually doing with these skills? And freaking in Berseria, like, it keeps building and building upon, like, previous concepts, but it's just some small little details. And I haven't played Berseria in a long time that if I were to pick it back up, I'd seriously have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I'd have to go back and play from the beginning because I cannot. I'm really having problems. Tales of games are the only games in which the combat is difficult for me to understand the details of. Like, I was okay with FF8, and I was okay with Resonance of Fate. That's the one that most people complain about, right? The most people complain about Resonance of Fate, right? But no, it is Berseria and Vesperia, that freaking skill system and all the little tiny changes that it makes to it that I don't really understand. Okay, so there were a lot of really interesting comments during this part of the video. So Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World, which is like a sequel to Tales of Symphonia, is actually called Tales of Symphonia Ratatosk no Kishi in Japanese. And that means Knight of Ratatosk. I guess it's a place, maybe. And they were making merchandise in Japan with the name, not Ratatosk no Kishi, but in English, Knight of Ratatosk. And so the freaking the YouTube manager guy, before he was doing this YouTube manager job, he was actually what do you want to say? He was a person who prepared and went to places and sold merchandise for Tales. And so he was saying it was like driving him crazy that we have this merchandise that says in English Knight of Ratatosk on it, and they can't sell that product anywhere but Japan. And then
That's kind of funny.
that is kind of funny. And so that means that they changed the title for the West, right? And so they said they changed the title.
They do that all the time. They always change, and I never seem to understand
why.
Sometimes it feels very unnecessary. Sometimes it makes sense. A lot of times I feel like it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, they talked about it. So they said they changed the title. This is Namco Bandai guys talking now, so I don't know about Square Enix or whatever, but they changed the title when they think the Japanese title won't sound cool to people in English-speaking nations. And they didn't say this, but I know that it's not just them, the Japanese developers, that decide whether they think it sounds cool to them. They have a foreign, American marketing
Western
person, right? Yeah.
Marketing, sure.
Now, when they make the title, though, the developers and marketers for all regions choose it together. And the dude in the freaking video, apparently he's like a pretty important person, I guess. He freaking chose the title Tales of Orizio. So kind of important guy. So yeah, so he chose it with all the marketers for all regions all together. And then they try to choose a title that will work in all regions. I'm sorry, that will work in all regions when they can, because having different titles makes communication too hard. And so yeah, that guy said that he had a really hard time choosing the name Tales of Arise. He said that the only criteria that he really had was that he wanted to express that this title is a new start, and that he wanted to use a simple English word. And then from all the marketers and from all the reasons, he was given over 100 possible name ideas. And he had a really hard time choosing. And then after you choose one, he says it's like really hard to get a single name that can be trademarked successfully in every
Oh,
country as
sure.
well.
Yeah, that
I hadn't
that
thought of
is the
that.
one case where I know that Japan tends to change them. Like Resident Evil
Oh, was
is
that one?
Biohazard, and that was because there was a band that had Resident Evil here in the US. I don't even think they exist anymore.
I
This
think
is back in the 90s.
no. Wouldn't it be the other way? Wouldn't it mean the band was called Biohazard and they couldn't use the name
Oh, yeah, that's
Biohazard?
what I meant. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
So, right, and I think that's not even like a going concern anymore, but it's been Resident Evil here for so long now that
They're not changing
it's
it
just
back.
they're not changing it.
Yeah, and also the same thing with Dragon Warrior, right? They wanted to call it
Correct.
Dragon Quest, but there was a pen and paper RPG already out called that, and now it's
Right.
gone. So now
Now it's
they went
gone.
back.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So yeah, that was a little bit of insight about choosing names and localization, and also Tales of Eternia is called Tales of Destiny 2 in the West,
I
and
find it interesting that they don't like it feels like they're not necessarily trying to come up with a name that has anything to do with the game. Like
that's
they're
a
like,
good
what
point,
sounds good? Like this
right?
is a new start. Let's call it Rise, and that kind of evokes this idea of like, why don't you make it something to do with the plot of the game?
Yeah, at least in the case of Vesperia, they named
Right,
their guild Vesperia.
correct,
So
and it's named after like a constellation or something.
yeah, so that worked out pretty well. Yeah, who knows if there's going to be anything about rising up or in Tales of
I mean, was
Arise?
there anything particularly symphonic about Tales of Symphonia? Was
I don't
there
know,
anything to do with symphonies in that
or
game?
music. Yeah,
Or music? I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe there was.
What's the
Maybe I
other
missed it.
Tales? Yeah, what's the other Tales of game I played? I played Vesperia. Oh,
Berseria?
I played Exilia. Have no freaking idea what that word is supposed to be. It's nothing.
Right. Is there any abyss in Tales of the is it actually
I
a
don't know.
tale of an abyss? Is there an abyss involved?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. So yeah, Tales of Eternia is called Tales of Destiny 2 in the West. They're the same game, but they changed the name in the West. And they guessed those two guys in the video. They made the guess that I guess the marketers thought in America and the West thought it would be better to sell as a sequel to Tales of Destiny because Tales of Destiny sold well, but he was wrong about that. Remember, Tales of Destiny sold terribly in the West. It sold
Yeah,
almost all copies in Japan, right? So, yeah,
right.
I don't know.
And did they rename Tales of Eternia for the US? Was that renamed?
That's the one. Tales of Eternia was renamed to Tales of Destiny 2 in the
That's the
West.
one.
That's
Okay,
the one,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Japan thinks that phrase doesn't play in the West for some reason because that was the original name of Skies of Arcadia was Eternal Arcadia,
Huh.
and the world you like
Oh,
there's like Eternia and other things in there. Like it's a term that Japan likes to use, and they also don't think Westerners like it.
I like it though.
I think it sounds fine.
They
They keep
did,
shying away from it.
dude. They did that with Resonance of Fate. It's called End of Eternity in Japan.
Right.
Yeah,
They have an affinity for the word eternity, and they also think we hate it.
for some reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eternal Sonata came out as Eternal Sonata in the West, though, and in
True.
Japan it wasn't called that. It was called Trusty Bell.
Oh, right, Trusty Bell. I kind of wish it was Trusty Bell. That would be great. That's such a good name.
You like that name?
I think it certainly leaves an impression.
It does. It's unique, more unique sounding than Eternal Sonata. I mean,
Yeah, Eternal Sonata. What does that even mean?
a sonata that goes on forever. What are you talking
I
about?
guess it's like it's another one of those like e-
Not
endless waltz, like like
yeah.
the Gundam thing that they did.
Now, appropriately, I won't spoil anything for people listening, and if you end up playing because it is on the list. Appropriately, there is some eternal aspect that gets mentioned in the story.
Okay.
So
Well, I
that's
know
good.
there's a sort of a Sonata connection.
And I don't know if that's the game about Chopin, right? And I don't
Right.
know that he specifically wrote any sonatas. Maybe he did. Like Moonlight Sonata's not by him. That's by Beethoven or Mozart, right?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe he has.
They have.
Maybe he probably has.
They have. Yeah.
I'm not sure. So anyway, so in the next interesting quote, Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe is the company that sells. This is a direct quote, okay? Because I thought it'd be better just say exactly what he said. So I got 2 long quotes from these guys. Quote: Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe is the company that sells our games in Europe. They have sales branches in Germany, France, Italy, and other European countries. Our games are delivered directly to the users through this network, which handles the distribution. Detailed care is taken in each country, and Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe is the umbrella for all of them. When we exchange opinions on titles and such, the European representatives have to collect opinions from each country. They put all the various opinions together into one European opinion and propose it to Japan. They may get upset if it gets rejected after working so hard on collecting the ideas. You know that phrase from Conan the Barbarian that Arnold Schwarzenegger says, "The lamentations of their women."
Yeah.
Like when I was reading this, the phrase that popped into my mind was the lamentations of the game developers. Like, they're just talking about all these little things that made their job harder. That was funny. And one other quote, promoting a game overseas used to be a hell of a journey. I once visited 8 countries in a week. I started in Sweden and ended up back in Sweden. I did stay in hotels, but only went back and forth between the hotels and the venues. I kept flying or taking trains in between. I made a mistake here. It's nice. It would be nice to have a few weeks to do that, but work gets busy at such times. As a producer, your schedule gets jammed with promotional events. I wanted to visit as many countries as possible, having people try out our games or giving interviews. I should see if that guy has any known interviews. That guy who is the IP producer. And lastly, we got the top 3 games for Europe. Number 3 was Tales of Vesperia, 410,000 sales. Number 2 was Tales of Symphonia, 480,000. But it's only 70,000 away from Vesperia. Probably will eventually be overtaken by Vesperia. And they said that Tales of Symphonia was the first Tales game to be released in Europe. I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the number 1 game in Europe was Tales of Zestiria. And that it sold 481,000. Only 1,000 more than Symphonia.
Yeah.
But neither of them are having new versions out, so I guess those numbers are going to stay static for now. So number 1 is Zestiria at 481,000. And they said that is the first game that they've localized into many languages. So I guess that means they localized it into the 11 languages that they say they currently are localing games in. So that was all a bunch of interesting little details. That's everything, man.
That was a lot.
Yep, that was fun. Yeah. All right, I guess we're done with today's news show. Thank you very much, Mel.
Thank you.
Yep, and thank you everyone for listening. And let's give you guys our own personal news because not personal news, but news of our main channel, Turn-Based Memories. This is just our little news show. Our main channel is called Turn-Based Memories, and the thing to look forward to now is that I think I mentioned it last time, we recorded the Turn-Based Memories podcast for Legend of Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. I always get the in the wrong spot. And that was the one where I played it for the first time, and Mel has been a fan of it for a long time, and I told him all about my experience with it, and it was a very satisfying show for me, at least. I hope the viewers like it as much. So that's coming out very soon. It's already recorded. I just gotta finish uploading and stuff. And also, we now have 10 or so episodes of Turn-Based Memories podcast on as just audio podcasts on various different platforms, including Spotify, and is iTunes one of them? And definitely Google Podcasts as well.
Right. Yeah, it should be on a whole bunch of services. I use Google Podcasts, and I saw all of the uploads show up there over the recent couple days, so you can definitely find it there.
Yeah, so I'll work on getting all the rest of those up there, and then all current all episodes from this point forward will also go up there roughly the same time. Let's make sure that happens.
That's under the Turn-Based Memories name.
That's right. Yeah. So whatever podcast service or whatever that you use, the podcast channel, I guess, would be called Turn-Based Memories. No hyphens or anything, just spaces. Yeah, and then all of the episodes are up there, and I'm working on getting the rest of them. And we also recently recorded, but haven't uploaded yet, and I won't be uploading it until I upload the Zelda episode. But we went ahead and recorded part 1 of Final Fantasy VIII, where Mel is playing it for the first time, and he kept a journal or a diary of of like just what he did in his first couple of play sessions, and he reads it on the show, and then I make some comments about it and ask him about it, and it's a lot of random different things. Of course, the intro talk is going to be in there, but also, just a little bit about the different mechanics are going to be in there, because all of the mechanics are basically available right from the beginning, including the card game I think we talk about as well. So look forward to that.
Touch on everything there, because it's it's the intro, so we're trying to get all the mechanics out of the way and learning the game out of the way.
Exactly. So we'll definitely be going more into the individual experiences of what it was like going through this and that mission from this point forward. And our next our schedule, our plan is that he's going to play up till the Deling City mission and cut it there. And I believe that's the end of Disc 1, so that's like a great place to cut it.
Right.
And we'll record the next episode about it after that. I think that's everything.
That's it.
Not link. Like, favorite, and subscribe, and all that nonsense. And I guess we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye.